What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined once again by friend of the show, special guest Jeeho Yoo of the Yonhap News Group in Seoul. Jeeho, thanks again for joining us. I told you right before we hopped on, I wore my KBO jersey, my KT Wiz jersey, just for you.
Looking great, Jeff. Good to see you again.
I appreciate, first of all, I'm glad that this time we get to speak at a normal hour for you, that you're not having to go hide somewhere in the dark while coming on.
That's
So I'm
good.
glad we were able to work that part out. You have been all over the Hyeseong Kim story. Obviously, the news of his posting coming to the Dodgers. You ended up being vindicated as well on your reporting about what the offers were out there for him. We won't get into that, but I just wanted to say thanks for being on the show because you've been fantastic on Kim, and I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about the transition for him coming to the Dodgers and maybe what we've learned in the last couple of weeks. And so before we get to the press conference that he did with media in Seoul prior to coming over to the United States, I'm just curious, in the week or so since he signed with the Dodgers, have you had any additional thoughts now that you've had time to kind of reflect on the match between these two?
Yeah, so he did that little interview with his former KBO team's social media team that ran on YouTube, and I, tweeted something out on that. And he was asked why he chose the Dodgers, and his answer was basically, "Well, it's the Dodgers." Um, Obviously, he was familiar with the team. Channel Park when he was playing. I think Hyeseong was probably too young to remember that, but he would have watched. He would have had watched we would have had a chance to watch some highlights of Channel
Yeah.
Park's career. And obviously, Hyunjin Ryu, he grew up watching him pitch for the Dodgers. And there are a couple of other Korean players who went through the system, and he was familiar with the organization. And the Dodgers, I mean, just they're the one of the most recognizable, if not the most recognizable MLB team in Korea, alongside the likes of the Yankees and the Red Sox and what have you. So and the fact that the Dodgers won the World Series last year, and also having superstars like Ohtani's and Betts and Freeman's, and it's a star-studded championship-winning
Yeah.
team. And I mean, I try to maybe put myself in Hyeseong's shoes and try to think of an opportunity to play in the majors. And if, like he said in a press conference in the media scrum, that hey, if the Dodgers are the first team calling me with an opportunity to play for that team, I don't care if I'm the like 12th infield or whatever. I get a chance to play for the organization. I go to take the chance.
Yeah.
Uh, so it made a lot of sense for me at that point where at first you think of, hey, he's an infielder. They've got more than enough infielders or guys who can play his position, second base or shortstop. So why is he signing there as opposed to some other team where he can probably go maybe play more on a regular basis? But again, I think it made all the sense for me when he explained his decision to go sign with the Dodgers. I guess he, he's going to have to compete for playing time anyway, whether
Yeah.
it's the Dodgers or some other team. It's the major leagues, and this is his first year. So he's going to have to go in spring training trying to win the job no matter where he plays. So he figured, you know what, I'm just going to do it with the Dodgers while I can. Uh, I'm
Yeah.
going to have to do it anyway, but if I have to do it, I'm going to do it with the Dodgers. So,
Well,
and
and
it
one
made
of
a
the
lot of
big
sense.
things that has changed since we last talked is the fact that Gavin Lux is no
That's
longer
right.
here. Um,
Yeah.
it seems like from the outside, and I don't know exactly what information you have or information he might have had, these two moves happen very close to one another. Kim signs with the Dodgers, and within a few days, Gavin Lux is traded. Are those two moves in your mind, from what you know, are those two moves connected?
Yeah. From what I know, when the Dodgers were about to sign Kim, he sort of had an understanding from the team that something was going to happen.
Okay.
So he kind of knew, maybe not specifically Gavin Lux getting traded, but he kind of heard from the team that something was going to happen that would maybe open up the path a little bit more for him.
Okay.
So, I don't think he knew it was going to be Gavin Lux getting traded. Maybe it might have been someone else that he heard. But what I do know from, my sources is that he kind of heard he kind of had an inkling that, at least from the team brass, that something was going to happen with the roster after once he signed the deal.
Okay. What's interesting about that is you have that piece of information, which, as a fan over here who knows very little about Hyeseong Kim, I'm thinking, well, clearly the Dodgers must think very highly of this player if they were willing to trade their starting second baseman days after signing a guy who could potentially play second base. The second thing, though, that we've learned since the last time you and I talked, or I guess has been made public, I think you knew it prior, but it has been made public now, is that there's a clause in Hyeseong Kim's contract that says he can be sent down to the minor leagues and has no say in the matter. Some other Korean players, when they have come over, they've been able to negotiate a clause that says we have the right to refuse a demotion basically to the minor leagues. Kim does not have that clause, and that's kind of, it sounds like, become a fairly big deal in Korea. And so how do you make sense of A, that clause, but B, on one hand, a team's trading away their starting second baseman, which seems to say, look how highly we think of this guy. And on the other hand, they made sure to put a clause in there that says we want to be able to send him down to the minor leagues if we want to.
Yeah, so I think it became a big deal in Korea just because some of the other Korean players that went over to the majors had the clause. For example, Hyeseong Kim for the Orioles a few years ago, he had the clause in his contract. So he had a terrible spring training that year, but they couldn't send him down to the minors. So he actually ended up making the opening day roster despite having a really bad spring training. Now with Kim, with Hyeseong Kim, so he's going to have to obviously earn the job on the position on the opening day roster. They're not going to just give it to him. Even if they had that clause in the contract where he could have refused it, I don't know. I don't think the Dodgers struck him as a team. They would agree to do it with any player, right?
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but but the fact that, like you said, they traded away the guy who started second base for them last year in their championship winning season, I think that tells a lot about what they think of Kim. So maybe he doesn't have to worry about it so much unless he does really, really bad in spring training. So I think they're going to try to maybe find a way to put him on the roster if possible. So maybe the clause won't mean much at the end of the day.
So from his end of things, I know he's saying all the right things, and I want to get into this sort of media scrum that he had most recently.
Mm-hmm.
From what you sense from the people that are close to him that maybe you've connected with, is there a confidence that maybe not on opening day specifically, but in 2025 that he's going to be a starter, maybe even an everyday guy for the Dodgers?
So I think he's a confident kid. And, during the presser, he was asked about how, what it feels like going from a rookie in the KBO who couldn't get into games in his first year out of high school to now, going to spring training with the Dodgers in 8 years' time. So what does it feel like? And he said, I've always had a sense of purpose throughout my career, and I've never been complacent with anything. So that's his mindset. And I think at least, if nothing else, he's got the determination and drive. I don't know about confidence, but I think he's got the drive and determination to try to make the team and, make his big league debut as early as possible. So that's the sense I get. And, from my years of following his career in the KBO, I don't think he's ever lacked confidence in himself. He's not a rah-rah kind of guy. He doesn't maybe show it outwardly, but you see him play. You see the way he plays on the field. You see the way he swings the bat. He's not a guy that lacks in confidence. But maybe he didn't project that as much before going to US this time. But if nothing else, he's got the drive, I think, and also determination to do it.
Speaking of that media scrum, what else jumped out to you? I mean, he kind of covered, you posted, you can find more of this on your social media page at Jeeho_1. But what kind of stood out most to you? This was sort of his last time talking to the Korean media before he hopped on a plane to the United States to get ready for spring training with the Dodgers. So what did he say that jumped out?
Yeah, so I led off the thread with the Ohtani bits. I found it really interesting because I knew that obviously they're both CAA people, right? And they ended up working out in the same gym for a bit. And Kim said his first meeting with Ohtani came before he got posted.
Okay.
And he said how Ohtani wished him good luck. And then 2 days later, he got posted. And then, they ended up potentially becoming teammates. And really find it interesting how Ohtani made an effort to speak to him in Korean.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So Hye-Seong, he also wanted to learn some Japanese words to kind of, respond in kind, right? Hey, here's a guy, Japanese superstar, like he doesn't have to acknowledge me. I'm just a first year guy, just signed the contract. He's like a superstar. He's talking
Yeah.
to me in my language, so I gotta go talk to him in his language. So that's pretty good way to start off their, I guess, friendship, if you will. And also Otani being so popular in Korea as well. I think that really resonated with Korean fans when it came out, when Hye-Seong said that yesterday. Also, Tommy Edman, who's actually half Korean. Hye-Seong and Tommy were teammates at the World Baseball Classic 2 years
Yeah.
ago. So Hye-Seong was not a starting player at the time. It was Hyeseong Kim, shortstop, Tommy Edman, second base. So Hye-Seong was kind of a backup. Didn't have that much interaction with Tommy Edman, Kim said, but they did get in touch after he signed the contract. So they talked about, spring training coming up and things of the nature. So they got in touch after Kim signed the contract. What else? Jung Hoo Lee, the San Francisco Giants outfielder, one of Kim's best friends in the KBO. They were teammates in the KBO. They got drafted in the same year out of
Okay.
high school. They played together on the national team, junior national team. So they're really close. They're really tight. And they're gonna end up playing in those rival matches now,
Yeah.
right? Giants and the Dodgers. A lot of hatred there between the teams, but so Kim is like, I'm gonna try to catch everything he hits.
I like it.
Jung, I think is the same. He's an outfielder. We're try to catch everything Hye-Seong hits. So that's a fun bit of a friendship rivalry going on between those two. And Kim said how much Jung Hoo helped him during the process, just because he got there 1 year earlier. He knew so much about life in the majors, not just on the field stuff, because baseball is going to be baseball, but kind of living in, I guess, California, living in the US, traveling, the food, different routines compared to KBO. So Jung Hoo really helped Hye-Seong Kim with those, I guess, off-field stuff, right? So that was that. And someone asked Hye-Seong what Jung Hoo Lee or Hye-Seong Kim, another former KBO teammate of his, what they told him about, like hitting in the MLB. And interesting answer, I didn't actually tweet this out, but interesting answer is, they didn't tell me anything about hitting itself. And he figured, because they're all different types of hitters,
Yeah.
he thinks they wanted him to figure things out himself instead of hearing any technical stuff from them, because they're different types of hitters. Maybe their advice is not going to help Hye-Seong. So maybe it's a good thing that they didn't kind of, I guess, spoil anything for him. They wanted to kind of go in there, figure things out himself. So, that was that.
Or is that a former Padre and a current Giant, trying to mess with the Dodgers here, Jeeho? Is it possible that we've got a little undermining going on here?
Yeah, I know. That might be it, huh? That might be it.
I just laugh when you tell the story about the Giants player, and I'm thinking, I'm sure Giants fans love to hear that he was helping Hye-Seong Kim along in the process, and he ends up signing with the Dodgers. Yeah. It's like, couldn't you have helped us a little bit and just told him to sign anywhere other than there?
Yeah, I mean, he could have said, you know what, just don't come to the Dodgers, man. I don't want to play you. I don't want to face you like 14 times a year. Just go like East or something.
Yeah, Dodgers Giants, I imagine, will be popular television in South Korea next season.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Dodgers games, even without Korean players, just because of Ohtani, is a big deal in Korea. And the time difference, it kind of works out okay. A lot of the West Coast teams, I think typically during the week it would start around 10 or 11 a.m. in our time, give or take. So the hours, I think, work out pretty well. So depending on where Hye-Seong Kim signs, I think, we could have as many as all three Korean guys in the West Coast. We'll see.
Maybe this is a super dumb question, but you mentioning what you just did about Ohtani makes me wonder, like, is Ohtani actually the most popular baseball player in Korea, or is there one of these Korean players that is more popular?
No, I think Ohtani might be.
By a long shot?
Definitely yeah. I think if nothing, definitely he's the most popular Japanese athlete of all time in Korea.
Okay.
And I've said this before the Seoul series last year. There's no way a Japanese athlete could be this beloved in Korea, just because of our two countries, history, and we don't have time for that to get into that. But the sporting rivalry between these countries, we're not supposed to like Japanese athletes, but he's so likable, right?
Yeah.
I think he's so very respectful toward Korean culture and Korean, I think, baseball. He said all the right things, and he's a great player.
Yeah.
So on top of that, and I think people, especially people of younger generation, they appreciate the talent that he is and the respectable person that he is. And hey, if he's from Japan, then he's from Japan. Who cares? He's a great ball
Yeah.
player. He's good with Korean guys. He's expressed admiration and respect toward Korean baseball, even though Japan kills us every time we play them. So yeah, so he's up there. Yeah, he's up there.
I told you the story. When I've spent time in Seoul, Hyunjin Ryu was still playing for the Dodgers. And it was like you couldn't go, it felt like 100 yards on the street without seeing some advertisement with Hyunjin Ryu in it. And
Yeah,
so, I know how much baseball is beloved. I've also told the story that I was in like a random assisted living home and there was a Texas Rangers game on, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized that Shin Soo Choo was
he's a chill.
playing for the Rangers at the time. And so it's baseball. I've tried to tell people like is so beloved in Korea, and Koreans are very loyal to the Korean players that then come
Yeah.
over to the United States and become stars. And obviously, I think it's safe to say that the Korean players that are currently over here have probably not reached the levels of success that the two guys I just mentioned did in Ryu and Chu. But it will be interesting to see kind of how those three sort of progress in their careers over the coming years and kind of where they end up standing in Korean culture.
Yeah, no question. Like Hyunjin Ryu at the top of his game with the Dodgers when he was, leading the majors in ERA, starting the All-Star game. He was like number one Korean athlete in a national poll.
Yeah.
It would be like Hyunjin Ryu and then everybody else, right? And
Yeah.
then he kind of fell off the national radar when he went to Canada, I guess. Although that's my team, the Toronto Blue Jays. But
Uh-oh.
yeah, when he
Tell
was
Roki
really good.
Sasaki that he fell off of. We need to tell Roki Sasaki that Ryu fell off the cliff once he went to Toronto. Okay.
Well, I guess the pandemic didn't help either. So, but look, yeah. So with all three of them right now, Hye-Seong, and Jung Hoo Lee, they all used to play for the same team in the KBO. It's kind of neat. They're all in
Yeah.
the majors at the same time. Or at least Hye-Seong will try to be in the majors with them at the same time. So it's pretty neat. Of the three, Jung Hoo Lee was by far the most popular of the three in the
Okay.
KBO, and Hyeseong Kim was not at their level. We talked about this before, in terms of their kind of visibility or their skill level. He was not at their level, but again, he's going to try to get there. He's going to try to make it to the Dodgers opening the roster, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, and just one last note on the media scrum. One of the things that jumped out to me was just his note, like, I have to play better than I did last season. And so he's not coming in based on these quotes with any grand illusions of like, this is going to be easy or anything. It's Dodgers fans are talking themselves into the Dodgers coaches see something that they can unlock, that it's not just going to be replicating what he did from the KBO to the major leagues, because we talked about on our show a lot that that's a really big transition. And especially in the first year, most guys, fail, I think is a fair word to use. And yet the Dodgers, this is the guy they wanted and they were willing to pay up for, and they were willing to move Gavin Lux for. And so him saying, I need to play better, and the Dodgers seemingly believing he can, I think is what gives Dodgers fans a little bit of optimism here.
Yeah, like you said, he's got no illusion whatsoever that he's going to just walk in and make the team. He knows he's got to work for it. Hey, Gavin Lux got traded, but so what? I just got to work and trying to get my opportunity, trying to earn my opportunity to play for this team. So he understands that. So I have no doubt that he's gonna go and work hard for it. So again, he's not gonna go out and say, you know what, I'm confident I'm gonna crack the roster. He's not gonna. He's not the type of guy who would say that.
Yeah.
So, but he's gonna. There's no doubt in my mind that he's gonna go and work hard for that opportunity come opening day. And someone pointed this out, that how interesting was that Ohtani, the Japanese player, made his Dodger debut in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And, Hyeseong Kim, a Korean player, could potentially make his Dodger debut in Japan.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that is Jeeho Yoo, again, from Seoul, Korea, joining us. We appreciate all of your coverage on this story. We appreciate you coming on and joining us, folks. I would encourage you to find him at Jeeho_1 on Twitter. He's got an article about this press conference that Kim gave in Seoul, Korea. And there's lots more quotes, again, that he's mentioned in a thread there as well. So enjoy the rest of your day, Jeeho. We appreciate you hopping on with us. Thank you to everybody for watching. This is, again, DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. If you're new here, please subscribe, ring the notification bell. If you're a Korean fan that wants to watch and follow along with Kim as he journeys through Major League Baseball, we'd love to have you here on the Dodger Blue channel. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. As always, go Dodgers.